I never really gave much thought to being able to point out ADHD or autistic people in public. But now that I know these things, it has genuinely changed the way I've seen people, at least people that I don't know yet. I've been able to make so many connections with people, and I feel like most of the friends I've made is through this because I tend to get along with ADHD people really well. Probably because I'm ADHD, but so I want to tell you guys about all these things, these little body language and little things that people do that are neurodivergent, and they're super easy to point out in people once you know them. So first of all, let's talk about this is going to be an autism and ADHD video, but let's talk about autism first a little bit. There's something called that I call the autism pause. So if you ever notice, my iPad just went off the back. If you ever notice when you're talking to a person that you already know is autistic, or maybe someone that you suspect is autistic, there's this really strange pause that we do. Like if you're talking to them and it kind of goes quiet and there's nothing else in the conversation to talk about, you just stare at each other and you're just quiet and you just look and you're quiet and it's just it's a the thing is we don't feel awkward in these kinds of conversations. At least I don't feel awkward. I feel awkward very rarely, honestly, with people, even with people I don't know. I have never really felt awkward that fast, I guess. So I kind of just, I guess I tend to just like look at people and we just kind of sit in each other's, space. But I've noticed that. So if you are meeting someone new and you're starting a new conversation about something like the weather or something, some kind of small talk, and there's a pause and you both kind of just look at each other for a long time, they might be autistic. Okay? Um Second, this is also an autistic thing, but also could be ADHD because ADHD people tend to, along with autistic people, we look around a lot. We're looking at the ceiling, we're looking at the wall, we're looking at the floor, we're looking at everything except the person in front of us. So it's either that or you'll notice that they are staring into your freaking soul. So if you meet somebody new and they're staring into your soul, unfleeting eye contact, they might be autistic. And if they're doing it for so long, where normally, like other quote unquote normal people might see it as weird, but they just keep doing it, then they might be neurodivergent. Um, Thirdly, this is a big one. This is an autistic one. Standing oddly in general, like positioning your body in a weird way. And for me, that's leaning forward. When I forget my training, like I've talked about on this channel, I've had to train myself to like use my core and like stand up straight instead of leaning forward and like hunching everywhere. So if you notice that somebody is standing weirdly, this is the biggest one in my opinion is where they put their hands. So neurotypical people usually put their hands in their pocket or somewhere normal, quote unquote normal. Autistic people tend to women tend to hold their hand out like this. I do this a lot. Like if I'm walking somewhere, I'll just do this. And at first, when you're just walking around and like looking at people, it doesn't look that weird. But when you actually know it and you know to look for it, then you can really see it. And normally, neurotypical people will not hold their hand out like this. Like they're old. I've learned to grab my bag strap because otherwise it looks weird with my hand out like this when I notice I'm actually doing it. But neurotypical people don't do that. They don't keep their hands out, like T-Rex arms. Um yeah, so let's see. The fourth one, emotions staying too long. And I know I've talked about this in other videos too, but forgetting your emotions on your face. This is also an autistic one. So say if you're meeting someone new, there's a moth flying around my light and this is very distracting. Okay. Moths are cute though. I'm glad it's a moth. I love moths. Anyways, back on track. Emotions staying too long. Um, if you're meeting someone new and there's something funny, like you guys crack a joke or something, like you're in a line somewhere and somebody drops something on the ground and it's funny for whatever reason, that person will, if they think it's funny, they'll smile, but they'll smile for way too long. Like even after the joke is done and they're doing something else, they're still smiling. I notice I do this a lot. Because genuinely for some reason I think also I find things really funny for a long time too, like longer than normal. I don't know what it is, but so that's one. That could also be if you go, this is a huge one too. I was actually watching another creator. I forget his name, but he's autistic, and he was talking about how he was walking his dog on the street, and he normally does this, like when he's focused, which I do too. And people say that I have a bitch face a lot because I'm always furrowing my brow, and that's actually I also raise my eyebrows too all the time like this, and that's how I have these lines right here. And so I've been unlearning that or trying to because it gives me headaches, but anyways, this creator, he was saying that this coworker that he barely ever worked with thought that he was mad with her because he was walking his dog and she just so happened to be on the same street, and she waved to him, but since he has bad eyesight, he couldn't see her. But apparently his face was like a bitch face, like he was furrowing his eyebrows, and so she thought that he was mad at her, but he was just focused on walking his dog. And so that's another thing. Like if you notice someone's walking around like this and their body language isn't stomping or anything, like they don't seem angry, but they just their face is stuck. They might be they might be a little spicy there. Okay, next one. Wearing their clothes very specifically. So like tailoring it very specifically, putting it in a specific spot, like always tucking it in, or it's tucked very neatly, or this is another big one if like the corners of their shirt are, what do you call it, folded up very in a specific way or something, tailored to comfort. That's a huge one. Or they have an odd fashion sense. So I've noticed that neurotypical people, especially with women, they have a very colorful or just very like exotic is a bad word, but very crazy fashion sense, I guess. It's like in a I don't give a shit kind of way, but I'm still kind of fashionable. And I've noticed a lot of women a lot of women who are neurodivergent are very colorful. They wear clothes that are comfy, so a lot of like dresses with pockets, or I've noticed that they might wear jeans, but they're comfy jeans. Or they might be wearing leggings, but they're comfy leggings. Like they don't sag or anything. And a huge one, guys, like huge one, is the shoes they wear, okay? Especially with autistic people. I've noticed that a lot of autistic people wear very comfy shoes and they wear the same shoes every day. So I know I have 3 pairs of shoes that I rotate through every single day, but they're all different. Like they all have a different purpose, but I wear them every day, and I always wear my shoes until they literally get holes in them. I was wearing I used to be in marching band in high school, and I wore my Converses every single day for marching band because I love them first of all, but they're really good shoes. It got to a point where I don't know if you guys own Converses, but you know the little toe part in front of the shoe, like the white toe part? It got to a point where I wore them so much that if I dragged my foot on the ground, my toes would stick out of the freaking shoes. And I still wore them for like 4 more months until I think literally a hole began to form on the shoe. And I remember there was this little prank that my friends would do. They would come and stick their fingers into my shoe, like, and touch my foot, like on the sock, because they knew my shoes were all kinds of fucked. But anyways, um, so yeah, a big thing is autistic people tend to wear really comfy clothes or clothes that they feel comfy in. You will never see a person who is neurodivergent. I don't want to say never. That's a big generalization, but it's really rare to see a neurodivergent person wearing something that is uncomfortable and they feel uncomfortable in it. It's very rare. Like we usually learn that lesson very quick. We might wear it for one day and then we're like, that was so uncomfortable, never doing that again, and it goes into the closet to die and never gets taken out or worn again. So heels, neurodivergent women usually don't unless they have to, like for their job or something. I know for me, my 3 shoes, my 3 weapons of choice are my Birkenstocks, which are so worn in at this point that the straps are so loose that my feet literally flip like a flip flop. Like you can hear me going pop, 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 like around the house because they're not supposed to stretch that far. Like I tighten them as much as I can too. But so I have those and I have my Doc Martens because boots are so comfy. Like I love being able to wear shoes with tall socks too. And oh, let's talk about socks too. I didn't put that in there, but that's a very good point, Rhea. Okay. Autistic people especially because we have sensory issues, but ADHD people too. Um Socks are a big thing. And what I mean by that is, I know for me personally, the way that they're big for me is I will be caught dead. I will never be caught dead in my Doc Martens and my boots with low rise socks. And I know some people can wear, like neurotypical people can wear socks that are slightly below the boot line and it'll like rub all day. And I don't know how they did do that. But I always, 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 I wear my socks like half an inch to an inch above my boot line so that I don't feel my boots rubbing, even though they're loose at this point because they're so broken in. But same thing with my tennis shoes. I don't like to wear low rise, even though they don't really rub on my ankle because they're low rise shoes. But I still prefer to wear high socks. I'm very particular. It's always white socks. It's always cotton socks. It's never that synthetic shit that like I don't know. I just thinking about it, it makes me feel gross. But yeah, socks are a big thing too. So if you notice, if you're just getting to know somebody and they wear the same brand of socks or the same type of socks or the same cut of socks or something, and also wear comfy shoes, they're probably neurodivergent or they just like being really comfy. Either way. Next, talking with their hands a lot. Now that I say it, I'm gonna be so conscious of it in this whole video. But talking with their hands a lot or not at all. So I've found that especially with ADHD people, we talk with our hands a lot, and autistic people too. And I've also noticed it's in a weird way. So I have my little microphone now. I love her. But in the first like two videos I made on this channel, there's the moth again. In the first two videos I made on this channel, I didn't have my microphone, and you can see I've never noticed this about myself until I look back on the video, but you can see that the way I move my hands when I talk is very what do you call it? Symmetrical. Like I do this or I do something like this, it's very symmetrical all the time and that's abnormal. But I talk with my hands a lot. I think it's because I'm a visual person and it helps me to see see the visuals in my head. Or so they either talk with their hands a lot or they don't do it at all. Because that could also mean usually like I found sorry guys, in my experience, autistic people especially talk with their hands a lot or not at all because they're either very, very visual or not at all. It's usually not too so in between. And lastly, being super, super gullible. So I've always been called gullible by my friends and everything. Like when I was growing up, you know, my entire life. And it's because I take everything literally. So I can get a good laugh. Like I enjoy laughing with my friends and stuff, and making jokes and stuff. But if you say it in a sarcastic way or something, um, or if you're trying to trick me and it's not obvious that you're trying to trick me, I will 100% believe you. And it has nothing to do with trust. And I think this is what people get wrong a lot is like they think that I'm just, I trust people too much, like strangers that I meet and they tell me something. This happens at work a lot, an embarrassing amount because I work at a restaurant. So obviously, I work with strangers all day. People I've never seen all day come in. And, there's a lot of like 50-year-old men that are trying to chat me up and crack jokes with me to get me to laugh because that's a guy thing. I don't know. That's like a 50-year-old man thing. Usually it's okay as long as you're not creepy about it, it's okay. But um they'll try and do it, but they'll say something that I think is literal. I'm trying to think of an example here. They'll say something crazy, like some kind of joke, like "Oh, I went to space" or something like that, and I'll believe you, because I don't see any point in why people would lie to me, and I don't get it unless it's very your tone is super 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 what do you call it? Not passive aggressive. What's called sarcastic? Then I can usually tell, but it has to be super clear. But yes, I think that is all I have. This is a short video today, But that's all I have. I This was a really fun video to make and to write up. Um yeah, that's all I have. Have a good day, guys. I'm ending this abruptly. Bye.